Hello everybody, welcome to our presentation. My name is Zafer Özen. I am a PhD student at Purdue University. My colleague is Dr. Nilson Pereira. He's an associate professor at Purdue University. Today we are going to present you the study named Predicting Indiana Public Middle School Science Achievement by School Demographics. Before moving towards to the introduction section, I would like to share our purpose of this study. In this study, we aim to investigate whether school attendance, non-minority student rate, and social-economic status predicts schools' average science achievement. Here are our three independent variables. These are social-economic status of each school, school attendance rate of each school, and non-minority student rate of each school. SES is an important school demographics, and its relationship with student achievement is moderate and positive. In other words, lower student SES predicts lower educational outcomes. In a meta-analysis study consisting of 74 studies, Shirin confirmed this relationship and found that it varies by cultural, economic, and social context. There is no evidence that low SES is related to student ability, but it can be considered as an indirect factor that leads to low achievement. According to Bakmayın et al. 2013, students from low-income family are less likely to have a good supportive family atmosphere to develop their children's fundamental skills, such as reading. That's why students from low-income background might left behind their peers with higher SES. The correlation between SES and academic achievement varies by 0.2 and 0.4 in most countries. And having a strong correlation between SES and academic achievement might indicate potential testing problems and lead to an achievement gap between high and low SES students. School attendance is another important variable to predict schools' achievement. In a longitudinal study, Morrissey et al. In 2014 found that there is a small significant positive relationship between school attendance rate and students' achievement, and claimed that there is a still need for more studies investigating how strong this relationship is in different educational levels and contexts. Schools' racial diversity is another important demographics to address the achievement gap among students from racial diverse backgrounds. Stone and Soderson in 1999 found that a school's non-minority student rate has a significant negative relationship with school's achievement level. However, it seems that there is still a need for more studies at school level and state level, since the study by Stone and Soderson is the only one that we could reach at school level. So our research question is, do relationship exist between or among the school's average science proficient student rate in Indiana Learning Evaluation Assessment Reading Networks, iLearn, and the school's non-minority student rate, attendance rate, and social economical status rate? Before moving towards to the method section, I would like to introduce where we get the data. The data set for this study was collected by Indiana Department of Education, and the data set was publicly shared on the Department of Education website. The data set includes schools' iLearn scores, an online computer adaptive test which selects upcoming questions based on students' previous answer. For this study, we only used the data from Science Battery. In general, the data set looks like that, and Indiana Department of Education shared the number of students at each proficiency level for 1,492 schools after excluding some of the schools which doesn't have enough data or which has missing data. Socioeconomical status rate and non-minority student rate of each school were excerpted or simply calculated from the iLearn data, whereas the school attendance rate was excerpted from a different data set on the Indiana Department of Education's website. Regarding the marginal reliability coefficient, the iLearn exam has 0.88 for 4th graders and 0.99 for the 6th graders. According to its technical manual, the instrument has content criterion, internal, external, and construct validity. Based on these results, it's likely to say that iLearn is a valid and reliable measurement. For the statistical method, we did run multiple linear regression. Our independent variable is school's proficient student rate in science. Each school's proficient student rate in science was calculated by dividing the total number of students at and above proficiency by the total number of students taking the exam in the school. For example, in a school with 100 students, if 15 students in total at or above proficiency level, we can say that this school has 15% science proficient students. The higher number indicates more students are at or above the proficient level in a school. For the social economical studies, in the literature, social economical studies is typically measured by material possessed, parental education level, occupation, number of siblings, or eligibility for free reduced lunch, according to Gustafson and his colleagues. For this study, we use 1 minus to the rate of students with free reduced lunch in each school to represent the school's social economical status. The higher number shows less students in a school gets free reduced lunch. In other words, higher number shows more affluence. For the non-minority student rate, we simply use the white student rate in each school. So the school with high number has more white students. Our last variable which is included in the model is the school's attendance rate, which is the only variable not taken from the iLearn published data set, and it represents each school's general attendance rate in the 2018-2019 school years. Unfortunately, there is not much information published about how school attendance was collected and reported in these years, but this data set also downloaded from the Indiana Department of Education's website. Here are our descriptive statistics for the variables. In total, we had 1,092 schools after data cleaning and excluding schools with missing variables. It seems that there is no issue with skewness and kurtosis except the minor issue with the school attendance. Before moving towards to the statistical analysis, we tried to meet the regression assumptions. In this slide, we see the distribution of our dependent variable. We specifically included this slide in order to address one of the reviewers' concerned. As you can see, dependent variable of our study, which is school science proficient student rate, is normally distributed. In this slide, you're seeing scatter plots between each independent variable and dependent variable. As you can see, all independent variables shows a linear correlational pattern between each independent variable and dependent variable. In this table, we showed you the correlations between 4 variables. To address the multicollinearity issue, none of the correlations among independent variables are above 0.7, so we can simply say that there is no multicollinearity issue. In the figure in this slide, PP plots of regression standardized residual for the dependent variables is shown, and this figure and the upcoming figure looks pretty good since the individual dots in this figure are mostly overlapping with the straight line, and the histogram of the residual distribution in the figure in the next slide matching with the normal distribution curve. For the further analysis of multicollinearity, we did run the collinearity statistics with tolerance and variance information factor, VFI. In general, it's likely to say that there is no issue with the VIF number and tolerance number. Based on the multiple linear regression analysis, the null hypothesis was rejected, and we found that all 3 independent variables were significantly explained the variation in the school's science proficiency rate. In general, the results of regression was explained 70% of the variance. So the largest effect belongs to school's social economical status. Based on this result, we can say that the 1 standard deviation increase in school social economical status results in 0.58 standard deviation increase in schools' science proficiency rate. The second largest effect came from the school's non-minority student rate. One standard deviation increase in schools' non-minority student rate results in minus 0.22 standard deviation decrease in schools' science proficiency rate. The most minor effect is from school attendance rate. Here is the regression equation that we found based on the multiple linear regression analysis. Here is our discussion section. According to Shirin 2005, in most countries, the correlation between socio-economic status and achievement is between 0.2 and 0.4. Since in Indiana we found this correlation relatively higher, which is around 0.8, it can be thought that there are some potential problems in Indian educational system, such as the allocated budget for the schools with high free reduced lunch rate or low teacher quality. In these schools, there might be need for the further investigation, seeing why this correlation is really high in Indiana. For the non-minority and the attendance rate, our findings is aligning with the existing literature. The finding of this study about race aligns with the literature. Some of the reasons can be low teacher quality in the schools with high free reduced lunch, low budget, and location. The school attendance results aligns with the literature. In the light of this result, we can emphasize that schools should keep tracking student attendance rate closely and should show some effort to increase the attendance rate in the schools with low attendance rate. Here are our limitations. Of course, this study is limited with the Indiana context. Also, the variables are limited by the shared variables by Indiana Department of Education. Also, limited data source for each race is another limitation of this study. Maybe conducting further analysis for each race can be also good for the further studies. No access to student level is another limitation for this study. Here is our conclusion. Considering the high R-square value, which is around 0.7, this model explains the school science achievement well with the following three independent variables: school SES, school attendance, and school non-minority student rate. Explaining school science achievement with that much closely fit regression line might show that there is a need for further investigation. In this study, we just only did run the multiple linear regression. For the future studies, running multi-level modeling with student, school, and state level can be also a good way to explain the reason behind that much close fit regression line. Here is our reference list. Thanks for listening our presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to send your email to the email address as you can see on the screen. Have a good day.